Hello there, Father Jason here, and it is 2017. Can't believe it's here already, but 2016 just flew by. It was a strange year. A lot happened, and I kept thinking, way back in the day, I used to blog more, and I used to do these year in review blog posts, and usually involved a lot of photos from the year, and well, now I seem to have more on my plate. I just never got around to it, but I thought, it might be kind of nice to recap 2016 in a little video, since I've got this camera here and YouTube. So here we go. I'm just going to review the life and times of Father Jason and my parishes for 2016. So let's go. Well, the year began, I think the first thing that was really notable was the funeral for Father Raymond Ite. For the longest time, he was like the oldest priest in our diocese, and he was a great guy. He would come to everything. Every function that the presbyterate, all the priests of the diocese would be at, he would be there. And so it was bittersweet that he passed away, and we buried him in January. It wasn't the only one. There were many funerals that I attended in this 2016, which is just par for the course in my line of work, I suppose you could say, and especially in the demographic of Emmons County, where I serve. It's an older community, but I offered some different adult education courses in our parishes in 2016. We had the Symbolon series. We had a course on sacred music, and an end-of-life sort of planning and medical ethics kind of a session, and so on. Lots of things like that. I don't want to get too much into that. That's probably bore you to death. But February 14th, I think that's Valentine's Day, right? That doesn't really register for priests usually. But February 14th, I think that was the date, I went out to Melanie McCormick, well, used to be McCormick, now it's Melanie and Mark Shopper, their place. Good friends of mine. Melanie's been a friend since grade school or whatever, or high school, and she had us out, and my friend Jessie and I and her, we had a retro Mario party. It was awesome. Played Super Mario Brothers. Good times. February, I had a baptism, Clayton Russell Mossett. Another funeral, baptism of J.C. Helen Rebenich. Lenten penance services, more burials and funerals. Triduum and Holy Week at the end of February, that's always a beautiful time in the life of a parish and in the life of a priest. It's a lot of work, but it's worth it. Our Lord celebrated his resurrection, life, death, and resurrection, and that, especially in that time. In April, we had our spring clergy conference in our diocese. We do pretty well. We have a spring clergy conference and a fall clergy conference, and they're always good times to get together with the priests and to learn something good that will help us in our work. April also had a baptism of Jameson Lee Scher, so welcome to the church, Jameson. April 11th, I went on that was great. Went on a geocaching road trip with Norcoda as his screen name, Bob Nutch, who will, by the way, God willing, be a deacon before too many years here in our church. Looking forward to that. He's a good man and a good friend. April, we also had a funeral here for Joe Frank, a wedding, more burials. May, graduation. The graduation here in Strasbourg, that's always kind of an interesting time for a pastor who, I've taught these kids about God and the church and the faith. I've seen some of them, not all, but some of them really kind of take it in and live it. And then they graduate, and then they go off to college or wherever. And it's an interesting time in the life of a pastor. You get to feel like a spiritual father, but you get to see these kids grow up and go out into the world and often come back for weddings even already. I was ordained in 2011. I haven't been a priest that many years, but I'm already seeing that. They're coming back to get married, and gosh, These kids, they grow up so fast. Baptism of Ariana Schneider in May. Deacon ordination of Greg Luger. He'll be a priest next year. That was on May 23rd. Wedding, also in May. There was a presbyteral ordination of Doug Krebs, who is now a priest of our diocese. And we're glad to have him, and we look forward to working with him he's our brother priest for the rest of our lives. June 3rd, that would have been the 25th anniversary of Father Ken Phillips's ordination to the priesthood. He's my cousin, first cousin once or twice removed or something like that, and he's been a good friend and a good priest, and I wouldn't be a Catholic probably without his guidance and assistance over the years. So it was fun to see him celebrate 25 years in the priesthood. Continuing in June, we had weddings like crazy, because, that's June in the Catholic Church. June 15th, we had a funeral for Father Ed Wayner, who was the pastor at St. Anne's Church in Bismarck, and that was kind of unexpected. I mean, he was having some health problems, but he was a relatively young priest. Now, he had retired, so he must have been 70, but he seemed healthy. He was eager to serve as a retired priest filling in for us. He was the pastor at St. Anne's when I was there, so he was my first pastor that I served under after my ordination. So it was a sad day to say farewell to Father Wayner. Immediately after that, I came back to a funeral for Agnes Kelch here at my church. And later in June, Father Phillips and we took a trip to visit Father Roy LePac's cabin in northern Minnesota. He's a hermit that lives there. He has served as my spiritual director through much of seminary, and actually probably all of seminary, and all of my priesthood now. And once a year, we go out and visit him, and he's provided a lot of guidance over the years, so that's always a good trip to go see him. Independence Day, I marked that out at Jesse McCormick. He's a good friend, best friend of mine since grade school. Went out to his house and shot off some fireworks, visited with his family, and nature had its own fireworks that day. Some incredible clouds, thunderstorms rolled through. It was beautiful. God's creation was beautiful, especially that day. July also saw some more funerals, a baptism of Angelica Bauman, and late in July, we had the Town and Country celebration out at the Larry Lyer farm. That was an amazing day, a lot of work to get ready for, but each year the bishop goes out to some farm somewhere in our diocese, and he has a big mass for everybody. He blesses the animals, and this time it was out in our area of the diocese, so we appreciated his coming out. It was a good day. Not too many days after that, I hit Bambi with my pickup. Yeah, I was cruising along out to St. Michael's. Bambi came cruising up across the highway from the right side and slammed on the brakes, but not quick enough. Hit Bambi with the front left bumper. Couldn't find the little thing. I must have gotten up and ran away, but not after doing damage to my bumper. I needed a new bumper. And, by the way, when I went to get the repair work done, they gave me a loaner, and it was this massive F-250 Super Duty Ford pickup truck. Ridiculous. That's all they really had, I guess. But I enjoyed driving it. It was like a $50,000 truck. It's pretty funny. People were asking, "Father, did you get a new truck?" No. I couldn't afford that kind of a truck. Well, let's see. We had more funerals in July. A wedding, funeral. That brings us into August. And that was August 11th. Was quite a day. I think it was around August 11th. A thunderstorm like you wouldn't believe rolled through the Strasbourg area. And it destroyed this. They'd say it was straight line winds, but it almost looked like a tornado. It destroyed these storage units that were lining the property of the public school. And the debris from this storage unit just kind of scraped along the public schools, brand new windows on the north side, the elementary, and it just destroyed them. And then the water rushed in and the roofs were destroyed. It kind of put the public school out of commission till mid-November, from August to November. During that time, the elementary school had to function by, well, using the old school building that the church owns, which is attached to it, St. Ben's. We were happy to be able to help them out. It's kind of tough to come to an agreement, but we worked some things out. Although the St. Benedict building, the old school building here in Strasbourg that the church owns, we're still trying to fix the roof from that August storm. It just destroyed the shingles, and we're having trouble getting the roofer to come. Hopefully they'll come before too long. Still working on that. Oh, I should go back. I missed something. Back in June, speaking of roofs, the church here in Strasbourg, right over there, next door to my office here, they had slate put on, 2008 or something. Well, it rusted. Shouldn't have, but it did. And so it was replaced. In June of 2016, Strasbourg's church got a new roof. And that's one thing as a pastor I'm figuring out. You got to be an expert on things like roofing and furnaces and, all that stuff. They don't tell you that in seminary. But, yeah, you're really hands-on as a pastor in a small town. Okay, what's next? Towards the end of August, picking up where we left off, Jesse McCormick and I, we went out to a bike tour from Hartford, Connecticut to Bangor, Maine. And that was a pretty awesome trip. We've been doing those trips for years now, usually once a year. This one was in the summer, not the winter. Obviously, the other ones were down south, but this one was good. It was nice to see New England, yes. And it definitely, each part of the country definitely has its own sort of culture and style. Yet, people are seen, for the most part, pretty friendly no matter where you go. It's been my experience anyway. Right when I got back from our bicycle trip in September, went to the Fall Clergy Conference out in Medora. Also a beautiful time to hang out in a beautiful scenery with brother priests, learn some valuable things. After that, September, there was a baptism of Isabella Eve Rorick at St. Anthony's Church. There's a funeral, wedding, lots of weddings in September this year. Then towards the end of October, we had the big Thirst Eucharistic Conference in Bismarck. Thousands of people came, and it was the Year of Mercy. So thousands of people were able to go to confession and celebrate God's mercy, receive His forgiveness. It was wonderful. And my own experience of the Thirst Conference, the most powerful thing was just that, hearing confessions at the conference. Powerful confessions. Yeah, it was great. So if you haven't gone to confession in a while, go. It's awesome. Let's see, what else? Around November I did a lot of as the dean of the Bismarck Deanery, I have to visit all the parishes, so I traveled around and visited the 16, I only actually made it to 15. It's 15 of the 16 parishes in the deanery. Just to visit with the pastors, see the facilities, look at the books. Yeah, it's a lot of work, a lot of miles driving around, but it's always interesting to see the different churches. Then in November, of course, finally it was the end of a grueling, absolutely grueling, vicious election cycle. Campaign season was just horrible, as the candidates were whittled down to the two final candidates, Hillary Clinton, Donald Trump. It was just gruesome, and really it was hard to watch, the division and the hatred and the anger and the fear. But in the end, we ended up with Donald Trump as our president-elect. He hasn't taken office yet, but any day now he will. That terrifies some people, and other people are rejoicing. We'll see how it goes. Also in November, in fact right the day after the election, we had the second synod of the Diocese of Bismarck, in which a whole new set of rules and laws, a particular law for the diocese was approved, and then a few days after that it was promulgated by our bishop. And so we have a lot of things to implement, a lot of rules to follow and changes to make, and some of them are difficult to do, I'll admit. A lot of changes coming in our diocese in the coming month. Well, actually, just today, a couple days ago, these things went into effect. So we're working on it. It's only the second time that's happened in the history of our diocese, so that was a historic day. Also in November, November was a rough month. We had, my parishes were audited. You know, they hadn't been in many years, so this was just a routine thing. Internal procedures, financial, internal controls, all sorts of things like that were just kind of reviewed, and I think we came out okay. There's just a few things here, little things here and there I need to adjust. All part of being the pastor. Oh yeah, November 23rd was a funeral for Darnell Chosick. That was a hard one. That was a really hard one. Thankfully, right after that funeral, I was able to go to a retreat out at Sacred Heart Monastery for a few days. Of course, as soon as I left, got out to the monastery in Richardson, Sacred Heart Monastery. I was going to be there for like 8 days. Like the day after I got there, 4 Catholics at the nursing home here in Strasbourg died. I think it was 4. 2 of them were funerals that were in my parish. Thank God for my staff and for Father Leonard Eckroth, retired priest who's residing in Hague, and for a neighboring pastor, Father Tom Clement from South Dakota. They covered the funerals for me, so I didn't have to leave my retreat. Then as soon as I got back from my retreat, not long after that, of course all of this is happening in the midst of blizzard after blizzard after blizzard. It's just been a horrible winter so far. Then December 14th, I had to have a funeral for Alan Baumgartner, which was also a very hard, very tragic situation. So say a few prayers for Alan and his family, whom he left behind. Then Christmas celebrations. I was going to go home for Christmas after the last Sunday Mass. I was going to go visit my own family. Didn't happen because it was raining on Christmas Day. It rained like it was the summer. And the ice, it's that thick. It's still that thick on the steps at St. Mary's Church in Hague. We can't get it off. It's a challenge. We're working on it. But anyway, after the last Christmas Day Mass, I was stuck in the house, didn't leave for 2 days. Only now it's starting to get kind of back to normal here on January 3rd. Of course, we had another snowstorm yesterday. There's so much snow this winter, we don't even know where to put it anymore. And we're all very tired of it, looking forward to spring. The days are getting longer though, you can already tell. All right, I ended the year with a wedding. I attended the wedding of John Vetter, Daniel Volk. And then on December 31st, New Year's Eve, had a funeral for Rose Aberly. And that was my 2016. It was a challenging year, very challenging year in many ways. A lot of turmoil politically in the nation, a lot of death in the parishes, a lot of regulatory changes, a lot of administrative work that was rather burdensome. I'm kind of hoping 2017 is a little more upbeat, a little more to celebrate, but you know, God's blessings are always there. His grace is always there to persevere. So, belated Happy New Year, and I hope your Christmas season is going well. God bless.